as per the syllabus, as per the class, how you are able to understand. So that's why it's a day 5, I think, right? Today is day 5, na? Huh? Monday we have started, na? So today is day 5, but still we have not completed day 2 syllabus. The reason is initially it happens because of the installation, some introduction like that. But definitely from next week we will go as per the syllabus. We will try to match. So here in the day 1, day 2 we have covered everything except run level and its effect. So we are going to cover first that topic, then we'll move to the managing files and file system hierarchy. Okay, so that we are going to cover. So let us start with the run level and its effect. So I'll share you the files. It is CNA Linux 9:10 7:30 6 p.m. So I need to share first run level, which we are going to cover today. Next, file system in Linux. Creating, managing files and folder. File system in Linux. So these three topics we are going to cover. So let us start with the run level first. So what exactly is a run level? So run level is used to control how Linux is going to boot. If you remember, maybe you were a child on that time, very small kids, very long back, when we were using Windows 98, Windows XP. So in those operating system, there was option to boot with the advanced boot menu, like safe mode with command prompt, safe mode with networking. So these all advanced boot menu was for troubleshooting purpose. Similarly, here in Linux, we have different run levels. So this run level is going to decide in which mode our Linux is going to boot. Means you want to boot your Linux in complete command line mode. You want to boot your Linux in command line plus graphical both. You want to boot your Linux in command line but without networking features. You want to boot your Linux in single user mode. So I think yesterday we have seen now how to break root password. So the mode where we have executed passwd command, that is called single user mode. So if you set run level 1, your Linux machine will directly boot to single user mode where it will not ask any username and password. So yesterday when we log in, we didn't we don't need to give any username and password. So similarly, in Linux, there are 7 run levels. Run level 0 means the system will get shut down. Run level 1, single user mode. So when you set run level 1, your system will boot normally, but you will not get the login prompt. Directly you will get sh and the prompt which we get yesterday. Sh hash and something dot like that. So that type of single user mode prompt you will get, and without any networking features it will be single user mode prompt. Multi-user mode without NFS. Multi-user mode without NFS means you can log in with a different user. Means it will be like a complete command line. No graphical options will be there. How you switch the terminal with Alt Control F1, F2, F3. You can switch also, but you cannot use any networking feature. So NFS means network file system. NFS is a file sharing service in Linux. Okay, and Run level 3 multi-user with NFS means you will have complete command line. You can log in with different users on different terminal. All the networking features are there except graphical options. You will not have graphical desktop. So generally our server is set to run level 3 in the corporate. What we do in real scenario, we use run level 3. Why? The reason is in complete command line mode, our server will use less hardware resource, less CPU, less RAM. Okay. Plus, it will work fast in compared to graphical options. Is it clear? Any confusion? Run level 4 is not used. Run level 5 means what you are using right now means your Linux is working in run level 5. You have graphical options also and you can switch to command line terminals also. Okay. So that is run level 5 and run level 6 means reboot. Is it clear? So why we are learning these run levels? We are learning this to do the troubleshooting because here this is your personal laptop but server will not be personal. Lot of people will be working on that. So maybe by mistake someone has changed any run level. How you will identify? Okay. So on that time, suppose my system is going to boot. It's showing okay, like you see when it is booting it will give service this loaded. Lot of screens come in command line. Then we get the graphical and login prompt. Suppose you are not going to get any login prompt. After half boot it is rebooting or it is going in shutdown mode. Means there can be a chance that someone has modified the value of run level which is set by default 5 or 3. Understood? So you can go and check the run level values. So now here how to check the run levels. So if you want to check the run level value here in your Linux, just type the command run level. So what is the run level now? 5. That is why you are getting graphical and command line both. And maybe those who have installed in complete command line, you will get 3. How much is? 5. Okay. For you it's 3. That's what I'd say. If you install Linux in complete command line mode, your run level will be 3. Now I want to change my run level. Okay. Then, but those who have installed in command line, if you try to change to graphical, it will not change with the run level. The reason is the graphical packages which is required to install at the time of installation, it's not been installed. But we can change in complete command line because we have installed both the packages for the graphical also and command line also. So init space 3 to switch to complete command line mode. But you should log in with root to change this all. With the normal user, you will not be able to. So when you hit, you can see my Linux machine is changed to complete command line. Now if I use the command run level, it is showing 5 and 3. What does it mean? By default, it is set to 5 and current value is 3. For you also. Change to 5 and check. You need a space 5. चेक कर कहीं हो जाए वर्चुअल मशीन है ना तो हो सकता है हाँ नहीं हाँ, तो वो नंबर चेंज हो रहा है, तुम्हारा ग्राफिकल ऑप्शन इसलिए चेंज नहीं हो रहा है कि उसका पैकेज इंस्टॉल नहीं है। हाँ, वैल्यू सिर्फ कमांड की वजह से चेंज हो रहा है, वो दिख रहा है। इज इट क्लियर? Now I want to go back to graphical option, then I will use init 5. So in this we have to understand what exactly is the run level. Second thing, how to see the run level and how to change the run level. That's it. I hope you all are expert in this. Now moving to the next, and that is Linux file system. So what exactly is the Linux file system? Browsing the file system. So here the statement says files and directories are organized into a single rooted inverted tree structure. Means whatever files, folder, everything is under the single rooted tree structure. So let us understand the same thing in MS Paint. Generally what happens, we take one hard disk when we create a machine, correct? Then we do the partition. And at the time of installation, I told you that later I will explain what are the partitions required to create for the Linux. So the first partition which we are going to create here, that is boot partition. Second partition we are going to create, that is swap partition. And third one is the root partition. So these are the three minimum partitions required to create. It is all up to you that you give all the remaining space to root partition or still you want to save some space. Okay. So when automatic partitioning is done, on that time the first partition which is created is boot partition. Okay. This partition name is boot partition. Second partition which is created is swap partition, and the third partition which is created is, or also referred as, root partition. Is it clear? Any confusion? So we need to create how many partitions? Three partitions minimum. Okay, after that, like D drive, any you want to create one more partition to store your personal data or any specific type of data, that also you can create. It's not that you cannot create more than three. You can create, just like we create D drive, E drive, and other drives. Okay. So these three is minimum required. What does the first partition contains? Boot partition contains all the bootable files of Linux. Okay. Boot partition contains all the Linux bootable files. Second is swap partition. Swap partition is what? It is a space of hard disk used as a RAM. Swap partition is a space of hard disk used as a RAM. Okay. So generally the concept is a space partition size should be double of the RAM. But this concept we use very long back when there was like a 16 MB of memory, 32 MB of memory. Now we have memory in GB. So that's why these all things are not required on that level. So as a standard for our Linux, we create swap partition of 2 GB. Okay. So swap partition we create of 2 GB, and this boot partition we create of 1 GB. And what should be the size of root partition? So root partition can be minimum 8 GB, minimum 8 GB or 7 GB also you can go, no problem for that. But later we need to configure the services or anything. For that we need a space. So that's why at the time of creating this virtual machine, I asked you to take the hard disk of 20 GB, and we have done this type of division of the partition. 1 GB for boot partition, 2 GB for swap partition, and 17 GB, the remaining space I have given to root partition. Is it clear? Any confusion here? So root partition is similar to C drive. There it is referred with the drive letter C. Here it is referred with the symbol /. Is it clear? Now root partition contains all operating system files, along with that user files also. Like on the C drive, what we store? All the OS program files, user file, desktop document, whatever you save the data, where it goes? All goes to the C drive. Is it clear? Any confusion? Okay. So this is the general hierarchical structure of this. Now moving to the storage, how the files and folders are stored and referred here in Linux. This is very important. Okay, if you don't understand, then in this entire course I am not going to explain the same thing again. So listen very carefully, and if you have any confusion you can ask. So as you have seen, this boot partition contains what it contains? Bootable files and kernel of the operating system. Now this boot partition you cannot access directly. So in Linux, to access anything, any partition, you have to create one folder on where? Root partition, and then you have to link this boot partition with the folder. Listen very carefully. So what I have done, I have one partition to store bootable files, but I cannot keep file directly in the partition. So what is the way? I have to create a folder on root partition and mount or map, you can say. Technical word in the Linux is mount, M-O-U-N-T, mount. But we can say in a layman language that mapping. So we are mapping this folder with the boot partition. So we will put a file in this folder and it will be stored in boot partition. We'll open this folder and we will see the files of boot partition. Is it clear? So whatever we keep as a data in the folder of this root partition, it will be stored in boot partition. Any confusion here? Now suppose you have some free space, or maybe you have attached another hard disk and you have created one more partition of 10 GB. So you have created one more partition of 10 GB to store all your selfies or your videos or any important files. So how you can access and how you can store the files in this? Again the same concept applies. We need to create a folder where root partition, and then mount or map this partition with this folder. For that there is a command that you will learn later. So as of now, understand the concept first. Understood? Suppose if I create one more partition, then how I will access that? If I create one more partition of suppose 5 GB, then how I will access? Again I need to create one folder and map the partition. So whatever I will put the file, it will go there. And suppose if you disconnect this unmounted, then if you open the folder, it will be empty. There will not be anything. File will be there, but where? on the partition. But whenever you want to access it, you have to mount it. So there is two type of mounting done here: permanent mounting and temporary mounting. So generally for the removable media like pen drive, CD drive, we do temporary mounting, and for the partitions we do permanent mounting. This point is clear? Any confusion? Now another question. I am going to plug one DVD in my Linux machine. How can I access the files of it? I have plugged the DVD in the server. So where I will get? Because here is no ABCD. Then same concept applies here also. Create a folder and then sorry and then mount it. So when you open the folder, you will see the content of CD DVD. Is it clear? Any confusion? I want to connect a pen drive. How I will access? Create one folder, map it. When the work is done, unmap, unmount. You can. Is it clear? Huh? Temporary. Folder is always created permanently. The mounting, the mapping which we are doing with the command we do temporary, and there is a one configuration file where we define permanently. Understood? So in Linux, most of the things which we do with the command, that is temporary. If we need to do anything permanent, we have to make changes in configuration file. Is it clear? Any confusion? How files are stored is clear. One more thing, keep in mind, on this root partition, you cannot create file and folder as a normal user. Understood? As a normal user on root partition, you cannot create files and folder. So if you want to create, you have to log in with root. Second thing, then where I can create? You can create in your home folder. When you log in, you will be in your home folder. So now let us see the hierarchy of this Linux. When you go in the activities, here is what? Then we can do it. But again, same concept, sudo. When you give the administrative rights, you can do anything. It will become like a root. Okay. You see, when you open this files, here is the option other location. When you open this other location, you have computer, and when you open the computer, what you have? No drive letter, only folders, folders, folders. Understood? So these are the default folder created at the time of installation. Also here you see for the computer what letter we have? Only forward slash. And this forward slash is called root partition. Any confusion? So this was the basic things related to the files, how it is stored in Linux. Now coming to some important files and folders. This note I have already shared to you. When we do the installation of Linux, automatically some folders and files are created. So what does this folder contains? And why we need these locations? Because just now I told you permanent changes we can do in configuration file only. So you should know which folder contains which type of files. Okay. So home folder or directories and folders are same. In graphical we say folder. In command line we say directories. So home folder, it is used to store personal files, folder and configuration of user. If user want to do any configuration for their own, then these all settings or all the files created by user is stored in home folder. So there are two type of home folder. For the root user, the home folder is /root. /root means on the root partition folder name root. And for the normal user, it will be on the root partition home folder. Inside that again there will be folder with the username. So let us see the same. So when I go inside the computer, here you see root. Root is there on the root partition and it is showing as a home. For whom? Root user. You see desktop, download, document and whatever things are there. For the root user, it is by default stored here if he is not going to specify the path. For the normal user, you see on directly on the root partition we are. For the normal user, it is home folder. You see this one. Inside the home folder, you see Dinesh, Rahul, Tanveer. So this one is the home folder for the normal user. If I log in with the Tanveer, then this Tanveer /home/Tanveer will be my home folder. If I go inside, I can see again desktop, document, download for me. So home folder concept is clear. So for the root user, home folder will be different. For the normal user, the home folder location will be different. As day before yesterday, I told you that in Linux, everything is a file. So everything is a file means what? Everything, even a kernel, hardware, command, everything is a file. So all the commands as a file is stored in bin folder, USR bin folder, USR local bin folder. So which type of command which normal user can execute is stored in bin, USR bin, USR local bin, and system executables or system or root user commands are stored in sbin folder, USR sbin, USR local sbin. Sbin means system binaries, bin means binaries. Is it clear? So let us see how the command looks like. So just now we have seen that the commands are stored in bin folder. So when you go up, there is a folder called bin. Inside this, yesterday we have learned two commands, date and calendar. A, B, C, D. First C will come. This is the calendar. Command as a file. It will not open because it is what? Command file. Similarly, you see other command, clear will be there, cat is there, cd is there. So these all are what? Command as a file. And still if you want to see what exactly it is inside, then I will show, but you don't use because if you change anything, you will not use it. /bin/calendar. This is the file. Okay. What was the query they wanted to know? Understood? Any confusion? So this is command as a file. So the commands which can be executed by normal user is stored in these locations. The command which can be executed by root or the system is stored in this location. Just now I told you that mounting can be done temporary and permanent. To mount temporary, by default, there are two folders created in the system, MNT and media. Okay, so two folders are there which you can use. or if you want you can create a folder with another name also. Configuration file, all the configuration files are stored in etc folder. Okay, temporary files, tmp folder. So first slash y I have given means on the root partition this is the folder. Kernel and bootloader, where it is stored, boot folder, but the partition is separate. Understood? And then server database is stored in var and srv. System information related to the hardware, process, utilization, everything is stored in proc and sys folder. Then shared libraries. Shared libraries means there are some common codes used by multiple programs. So those codes are stored in lib folder. Is it clear? Any confusion? Okay. So these are what? System folders, which is created by default at the time of installation. And for the Linux, it is very important for you to at least memorize these all things. The notepad which I have shown you, user executables where it is stored, configuration file where it is stored. So in interview they may ask you, in Linux configuration files are stored in which folder? Then you have to say slash etc or etc folder also, like this they can ask the questions. Okay, so first line I hope it is clear that files and directories are organized under a single rooted inverted tree structure. So whatever has to be accessed, it has to be accessed only via root partition. It cannot be accessed in any other way. All has to be accessed under the root partition only. That's why we create folder on the root partition and then access anything. File system begin with the root directory represented by forward slash. So just now we have seen. Names are case sensitive. So all the commands in Linux are case sensitive. Even the names, file folder name what you give, that is case sensitive. Means if you create a file, just let me give one example. mkdir India. I have created one folder India, cd India. No such file and directories. Why? Huh? Case sensitive. Name I have given in capital letter, trying to open in a small letter. Paths are delimited, means separated using the forward slash. Some important directories, that's what I have written in the notepad. Just now we have discussed. What is the maximum length of a file and folder name we can give here? That is 255 characters. All the characters are valid except the forward slash. Means at the rate, has, comma, dollar, whatever you want to give as a file name, you can give. No problem for that. You cannot give only forward slash. Backward slash also you can give. Clear? Using Nautilus graphical. So using graphical means you know how to work in Windows with the files and folder. Right click, copy, cut, delete, move, these all things. Similarly, here also you can work in graphical environment of Linux. Drag and drop. Okay, so these all things works here. Okay, drag, drop. Now file system management through command line. Okay, pwd will show you the present working directory where you are currently, where your files and folders are going to be stored. So if you type a pwd, your files will be stored in which folder? Slash root folder. If I go inside desktop, you see cd desktop. Now you see pwd. My files will be stored in root desktop. Understood? So if you want to see the current working directory where you are currently, you are working in which folder now, you can use command pwd. After this, there are two types of path: absolute path and relative path. So what does it mean? Absolute path and relative path. Suppose this is a structure. So this is my root partition. Okay. Under the root partition, I have root folder. Okay. And under the root folder, I have two folders. Inside that, again, I have two folders or files. Just take it as an example. Okay. So let me label it, and as I am very much confident that you all are very intelligent, so you will answer these all questions actively at least. Whatever you know, either wrong or right, you have to speak up. Okay. As of now, my present working directory is root. I am inside the root folder. I want to copy Delhi file in a Nepal folder. Tell me the path. So here cp is the command, then source path, then destination path. So tell me how I will write the path. I want to copy Delhi file. So tell me slash root slash India. So what you have said, that is what absolute path means, path from the beginning top to till here. This is what absolute path. Is it clear? What exactly is the absolute path? Huh? Okay, I'll do one thing. Yeah, bhai. Visible na? So this path is absolute path. I want to copy this. Another way to write the same is copy India slash Delhi. I am currently in which folder? Root folder. So I can give the name of next folder and from there so on. So this path is called relative path. So if your source or destination is in current working folder or present working folder, you can use this relative path. And relative path does not begins with forward slash, because forward slash means root partition. Any confusion in absolute path and relative path? It's always better if you have little bit confusion to use absolute path, because there will not be any chance to do mistakes while defining the path, because you are defining from the top to till last. Understood? Any confusion? So this is absolute and relative path. So same thing is mentioned here. We use when referring the files to a command line. Absolute path begins with the forward slash complete roadmap to the file location from the beginning to till the location, and can be used anytime you wish to specify the file name. But relative path does not begins with the slash. Specify the relative to your current working folder from here onward. Okay, and can be used as a shorter way to specify a file name. Any confusion in both the paths? Now these are the changing directories: ls, copy, move, touch, mkdir, and lecture is finished. So you don't need to follow the book from now onwards. Now onwards means for this topic especially, creating files and folder or managing through command line. I have already created a very good this notepad. Okay, so we'll follow that. So I hope we have covered till here. This making and managing link file we are not going to cover now. So in the next class we will cover this one. Now, as I have seen just now that you all are very intelligent, and I hope there is no need for me to show any command. Just I am going to explain, and you will be able to try by your own to create a file. Cat space greater than file name. Then enter whatever you want to write. Enter Control D to save and exit. Can you do it by your own? Not now, later. I have already shared the things. Next is, if you want to open the file which you have created or not created, file is there, you want to open, cat space file name. You want to add lines to a file, cat double greater than, because if you use single greater than, it will overwrite the existing content. That is also clear. To list all the files and folder, we have command ls. It will show all the file and folder names. ls minus l, when it was created, what is the permission, with all the details it will appear. ll is also the commands. So what I am expecting from you all, maybe not 100%, but at least 60-70% command you should be able to execute and understand the output of this. Okay, so try by your own in this weekend, and accordingly we will see, because if I am going to execute all this, it will take maximum 10 minutes for me. Okay, and if you have already tried, then it will be easier for you to understand on that time. Okay, this was the change. Okay, so what I wanted to show, to try this copy and move, you have to create a structure like this. So how you will create? First, in the root partition you will create two folder, India and Nepal. Then you will go inside one folder, India, then create the files with the different names. Then how to come back, and all the commands are there. So you search and try and copy paste and see. Three options are also there. Okay, so try these all things. Then next class we will cover this. Next class will be on Monday. We'll have class only on Monday to Friday.